So in theory, yes, rabbits can have multiple pregnancies at once. This is because they have bicornual uteruses. With that being said, it's not very common. I've never seen it happen in my barn, and I've only heard of a couple of friends who have had that problem. The problem with these kind of pregnancies is that if you have a rabbit that is of a gestational age of, let's say, 14, 15 days, and they get pregnant again, in theory, when they give birth, they would expel both pregnancies. And because of this, you would probably lose the babies from that second pregnancy because they aren't the correct gestational age to survive in the world. Or it can also cause complications to both pregnancies, making you lose all the kits or even mom. Though rare, the best way to avoid it is to keep records. Breed your rabbits when you know they aren't pregnant. With that being said, that gets a little bit more difficult when we start talking about delayed implantation and delayed fertilization of eggs. So yes, but it's not needed. So federally speaking, make sure you're looking into your state and regional laws as well. You do not need licensing to sell live rabbits, but there are some parameters. It has to be owner-to-owner sales, cannot be meat sales, and you cannot sell to pet stores or exhibitions in a dollar amount more than $500 per fiscal year. But that's federal regulation. And you can look on the federal AG website and read through all of it just to verify everything. If you just Google, do I need a license to sell rabbits in the United States? It breaks everything down. If you want like a shortened synopsis of it, the ARBA also has a shortened synopsis when it comes to licensing. But the short of it is, if you are selling rabbits owner to owner, live rabbits, not meat, you do not need licensing. Meat is its own ugly, not fun thing. The licensing itself starts at like $300 per year. That's not including inspections, that's not including extra licensing, that's not including taxing. And selling rabbit meat is a little difficult, to be honest. There's not really a market for it in a lot of places. But if you can get a restaurant to buy your meat from you, you might have a market for it. I stay away from the meat side of things, I just sell live animals. But look into it, do your research. When it comes to licensing, it's pretty cut and dry. Just stay away from pet stores and exhibitions. Y'all, my husband doesn't love meat.
I told her that she can get some chickens, not ducklings. Ducklings are higher maintenance, they're dirty, and they poop every like 15 minutes. No, thank you.
It's the same thing. Hey y'all, I have a litter that turned a month old and I'm starting to evaluate them and get preliminary ideas on whether or not I want to keep them for my breeding program. So I thought I would take you along and kind of show you what I'm looking at this age only. And my opinions might change here in the next couple of months, but we'll see. Starting off, we have this little buck. He is a broken black with a blanket pattern. I'm not looking to keep any bucks in my program right now, so right off the bat, he's not going to stay in the program. I also know he's not going to make a very good show rabbit because he has what looks like blue coloring coming in up here on his shoulder, and his markings aren't clean, meaning he has white marks through his black. And I also don't think he's going to be a very good sire in a meat program because he is kind of runty at this age and he's not very big. This is a little castor doe, and I am looking at keeping a doe for my program, but it's not going to be this one. She doesn't have the best of markings, and her orange ring is a little too short compared to her darker ring when you blow on her fur. I don't know what her rufous is going to look like quite yet because my castors have this almost fawn color on their sides right here, this like gray color that doesn't go away until they're about 3 or 4 months old. So I can't really speak on her ruffish, but she is really sweet and she might do somebody some good in their breeding program for meat rabbits. And finally, I have this little chinchilla baby, and it is a doe, which I'm super excited about because if you've been watching me, you know that this was my favorite out of this litter, and they are also the biggest by weight. So y'all, I'm very excited about this one. This is a chinchilla doe, And I'm excited about this because if some of y'all have been watching me for a little while, you'll know that this is my favorite out of the litter because she is the biggest and she's also a chinchilla, and I have a soft spot for chinchillas. She has great ring distinction when you blow in on her coat. The only problem I have with her is that I think she's a chocolate chinchilla. I'm pretty sure she's a chocolate chinchilla. Her ticking's kind of like a brown color instead of a black. I don't know very much about the chinchilla gene, and I need to do more research on it. But if I do like the way she starts filling out really nice, I might keep her just for a prospect of keeping her babies for meat. But that's all dependent on how she fills out and if she continues to be the fastest growing doe. So yeah, at this age, it's more about if they're the biggest out of the litter, what their coloring is starting to come in as, and if they're a boy or girl. But again, this is kind of like a first look. I have some where their coloring has changed a bit, or I've had others that they start filling out more as we get closer to butchering age, so we'll just see how they do. So today, when I came out to check on my mini Rex babies, I found a couple of them outside of their nesting box. To ensure that they can get in and out of their nesting box, it's time to turn it on its side. This allows for baby bunnies to get in and out of the nesting box without my help so they don't freeze at night. The only downfall to turning the nesting box on its side is now mom does not get a break from the monsters and they will try to nurse on her more often. So for my fur rabbits, I butcher them out between 16 and 20 weeks. Whereas most meat rabbits get butchered out between 8 and 12 weeks. The reason I wait that long is to ensure that the skin is thick enough to where it's easier to work with. That way during the tanning process, I don't put as many holes into the fur. With that being said, I myself have not found much of a difference in tenderness between 8 weeks and 20 weeks. In that time frame, they put a little more muscle on and a little more fat on. But the meat doesn't necessarily get tough. Before getting live animals, I suggest you do a couple of things. One, look into local butchering classes. Make sure that if you are raising rabbits for meat, that you are able to cull them and butcher them out before you get animals for breeding. Start researching the different kinds of setups you want. Do you want solid bottom cages or wire bottom cages? What kind of market do you have in your area if you are looking to sell off a couple of your kits to offset feed costs? What breed is going to be best for you? I also suggest talking to local breeders and seeing if you can get a connection there so you have a local mentor. Research what kind of rabbit feeds are readily available in your area, and if you're going to need to supplement with things such as hay, black oil sunflower seeds, or rolled oats. And then, of course, care basics. Let's talk pedigrees. Do you need a pedigree on a rabbit? No, not necessarily you don't. With that being said, is it important? In my opinion, yes. And that includes if you're just going to raise meat mutts. Pedigrees can show you lines and how close a breeder is line breeding their animals. It can show you potential color. It can show you the potential sizes of the lines you're getting. And it also can have some great things such as notes, legs, championships, all of those kind of things back and back and back in your rabbit's genetic lines. It also should have your breeder's contact information should you need to get a hold of them again. A pedigree is also needed completely filled out if you ever want to register your animal for a grand championship. So before I get into my favorite breeds for children, right? I just want to make a bit of a disclaimer and do just a little please listen to me moment. And this isn't me telling you what to do, this is me being in this industry for a very long time and dealing with all kinds of people and all kinds of nonsense. If you have the opportunity to, stay away from pet sales. Or at least be extremely picky with your pet sales. Now, if you're looking at getting into raising rabbits for a local 4-H club or an FFA, I highly encourage that. We need more of that in the world. But sit with the understanding that they'll probably be livestock. Raising rabbits for pets is a sticky business. You either sell them to pet stores and you're going to need licensing if you sell more than $500 worth to pet stores within a year, or you're going to sell to the general public. And if you do that, you're going to need a ton of education. Many in the general public do not know that rabbits can live for 10 years. They do not understand what actual proper care is. They're going to be dealing with things like GI stasis because of the diets they feed their rabbits. And don't get me started in the pet people going crazy over the kind of cages and other systems that you should have. They put their emotions ahead of the animal's welfare. So you'll be dealing with that. And then there's also the standpoint of, I do sell a couple of pets within a year to very few select people. And that's because in my contract, they come back to me should anything happen. And they either get adopted out somewhere else, or I keep them until the ripe old age of them going away. So I don't like pet sales much. So now that I'm off my soapbox, which is my personal opinion, best breeds for kids. Mini Rex are amazing little 4-H rabbits. They're very even-tempered, very easy to handle. They are a personal favorite of mine. That is what Gigi, our pet bunny, is for my 5-year-old. He is outstanding. I've also found that they don't change much personality-wise when the hormones kick in. Rex are very similar to that. The only difference is instead of having a bunny that's only 3 pounds, they get up to like 8-10 pounds. So they're kind of big, but still amazing personalities. Finally, my favorite breed when it comes to our kids is Silver Fox. My daughter can stick her hand into a cage full of silver fox babies and mama doesn't care. They're also extremely easy to handle. They're very docile. They're very amazing little rabbits. I say little, but still they're meat rabbits. They get like huge. So yeah, those are my favorites. And again, I'm not trying to discourage you from anything. I am just warning you of the problems you could face in the pet community. But yeah, summary. Rex, Mini Rex, Silver Fox, amazing and easy to handle. If at some point I can show you how easy they are to handle, I'll take my 5-year-old out to the barn and you can see for yourself. Lord help me with this one, I am asking for trouble. Let's talk about the House Rabbit Society. If you don't agree with what I'm saying, that's fine, you have one of two options. You can scroll and ignore me, or you can combat me with good sources. If you quote House Rabbit Society, that is not a good source. We're talking third-party funded research. And please don't come at me with ethos and pathos arguments. Insulting my character or using your emotions isn't a good argument. So the House Rabbit Society is a mess, to be honest. They're not very good with their studies. They're not third-party studies and they're not third-party funding. They fund their own studies to prove that they are right. And along with that, they don't like to release their studies to be reviewed by their peers. They'll post flagrant ideas based on emotions in the rescue world that does not equate to good proper care for rabbits. An example of this is the diet they deem appropriate for rabbits. Let's break that down. Alright, little history. From 1988 to 1994, the House Rabbit Society did publish multiple books agreeing with the agricultural side of research, saying that rabbits should only have a pelleted diet, mostly made up of alfalfa. But all of that changed in 1995 when they had a grandiose idea to cohabitate guinea pigs and rabbits. Which, spoiler alert, was a huge mistake because they killed a lot of rabbits. They deemed it appropriate that rabbits no longer have a pelleted diet, but should focus mostly on fresh foods such as salads. These salads were too rich with not enough fiber, causing diarrhea. Leafy greens and other greens that causes gas, which leads to GI stasis, which is deadly in rabbits. Or too low in protein, causing chronic wasting diseases. They wanted to cohabitate guinea pigs and rabbits, trying to get them adopted out at the same time. But rabbits aren't the most social creature. We can get into forced bonding sometime if you want. That's horrible. But in the end, House Rabbit Society decided that cohabitating guinea pigs with rabbits was a horrible idea because they were getting injured. Rabbits can be pretty aggressive when they want to. But the problem with redacting that statement is they never redacted the diet. They still pushed that a fresh diet was best for rabbits, that they didn't need that much protein, that Timothy hay was a better option to alfalfa, which if you've seen my videos before, I've posted sources from Michigan State University, Ohio State University, Texas AMU, and the ARBA, saying otherwise. They pushed this new diet without giving appropriate studies with third-party funding or third-party research. They're very close to chest with that information, quoting their own board or self-funded veterinarians, which is a conflict of interests. They're so concerned about being right, they don't actually care about the welfare of their rabbits. Yo, we found something called the Dr. Seuss experience. I'll have to show you on my stories or something, but real quick, let's get into this. Before we go over forced bonding, let's talk about bonding. So according to the House Rabbit Society, if you have 2 adult rabbits that you want to house together, you can try to bond them. But they also admit that sometimes bonding just doesn't work well, and rabbits can be aggressive when put together. So their solution to this is forced bonding. Well, what do you do with forced bonding? Quite simply this. You take those 2 rabbits, put them on top of your dryer in a laundry basket. Turn that dryer on with like shoes in it, and let the rabbits, terrified, cuddle up to each other after you turn the dryer on with the loud noises and vibration. Basically, the idea is you scare the ever-living crap out of those rabbits so that they cuddle up together and bond. Think about trauma bonding in humans. And apparently it's okay. It's okay to take animals that are prone to heart attacks, put them under serious stress to force bond them. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a horrible idea.